Welcome to the Moonshot podcast, the podcast where we explore business growth, inspire innovative marketing strategies, and explore the world of company culture. Now here are your hosts, serial entrepreneurs and best-selling authors, James Philip Arbuckle and Kane Carpenter.
How much more money do the Facebook shareholders make if they ran lean for the last decade?
Yeah, it's a good question.
And I know we talk about it from time to time, and to see this now it's kind of coming into focus after the money got pumped into the system, and now we're on the tail end of this thing, and now all of a sudden these tech companies have been laying off people like crazy. But then you gotta look back, and it's my complaint in general is, if I was a shareholder right now, I'd be pissed. It's sometimes tech and All In podcast was talking about some of the SaaS margins were like 80% or something crazy.
Mm-hmm.
You have these crazy margins, you got money coming out of everywhere, and then all of a sudden it's like, well, we don't need to keep our eye on the ball. And it's like, don't you have a duty to the shareholders to always keep your eye on the ball? Do you think?
Yeah. I mean, it's a good point.
It's one thing like when you're trying to grow, you got to overstaff, but it sounds like some of the tech companies literally just had people sitting around, and some of them just doing like 5 hours of work a week. And I just, like, as an investor, I would be pissed, knowing that you guys spent who knows how much money on people you probably technically didn't need, because you weren't operating with like a small margin business where you had to, like, okay, when I say run lean, I don't mean like be so tight that no one's got a free minute, but the tech companies don't operate by the normal rules. And to me, it's like they were allowed to get sloppy because of the margins.
And
But
the
the
argument
same,
that they would make around that, James, is like, by us hanging on to these people that sit there doing nothing, our competitors don't have them, and therefore, you know what I mean? Like, I'm completely in agreement. There's some sort of like shareholder issue here, right, or a fiduciary issue, but I think it's easily explained away or protected against by saying from a competitive advantage.
you can say that, but it doesn't sound like they were sitting on a bunch of engineers. It seemed to be a lot of other people. Like, I read some articles somewhere, like the amount of product managers are out there, and I'm like, what the hell do you do all day? And I get that strategy, but at the same time, it's like, how about you go, where's the innovation? How much innovations actually come out of Facebook, by the way?
I don't pay much attention. Probably not much.
I don't use Facebook, but it doesn't seem like a whole lot. Twitter, how much innovation did they have over a decade, for example?
Yeah, nothing.
So I get trying to scoop up the talent, but overall, it just, none of it makes a whole lot of sense to me. And then, so they can make that excuse, but now they let the people go, so now what? Are you telling me they're going to go out of business because they let all these people go, and now they're going to go to other companies and create,
Yeah, that's a good point, right? Yeah.
I guess I don't know if I believe that.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. The performance on the last earnings call was incredible, right? Operating margins up, everything up because of the headcount reduction. I think the thing that's really, like, it's not just the layoffs, and we know this from kind of operating companies. Like, it's when you do a big when you get rid of, call it, it's mean to say, but like dead weight or like excess in people, like it takes stress off the people that remain, right? Like 20,000 people, fewer people to manage is a big deal, not just from a cost perspective, from a productivity perspective, from the people that don't have to worry as much anymore. I don't know if I'm saying that right.
No, it's 20,000 less headaches, especially trying to employ people in this world.
Something like that, yeah, exactly.
And then, people are going to make the argument that, okay, well, someone had to absorb those 20,000 people, but when you really started digging into it, I'm sure there were some people that were doing a lot of work, but come to find out, they were just sitting on some people as a defensive strategy. And a lot of people, I mean, look how many TikTok videos of like, this is my day in the life at like Google or Facebook, and it was a joke. Like if I was a shareholder and I saw that, like I would be pissed. Like, how much is a payroll for 20,000 people? I gotta imagine they're shaving billions of dollars of cost off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Man, would have been nice to hear that on the earnings report. Or it's like, when they talked about the people sitting idle. Well, Jesus Christ, but put them in some other unit and have them create product. I don't know what they were doing, but they get away with things because of the business. But it doesn't mean they're making the best decisions for the shareholders. That's the only thing I argue.
Yeah,
And
100%. I agree.
and what you're seeing now is they're saying, okay, we're going to run lean and we're going to use more AI. And as they use more AI, they're going to keep trimming heads. Every company's going to do that.
Yeah.
So that whole like defensive thing, like I think they mentioned that. I just don't know if that strategy, if that was your strategy in the long run, I don't know if that was the wisest strategy.
Oh, yeah. It sounds like just an excuse.
You should have kept innovating and doing solid business. And to me, that was kind of like, oh, we'll do this. Like that's, I don't know. It's like, Twitter, what they cut like 60% of the staff and the thing still runs.
Right.
Maybe they're a little too short staffed right now. Maybe they need to add like 500. I'm making up numbers, 500, 1,000 people back, but they still cut the staff by like half. And what we saw, particularly on our outplacement business in the last 18 months is a bulk of it's been tech, right?
Yeah, big chunk. Yeah.
It's like, man, this is how, when you have too much money, it's how sloppy things get.
That's a good point.
And it would have been nice to see them focus on the innovation. Is what I keep coming down to. What did Twitter do in a decade?
I don't remember.
Again, it's not. They didn't really do much, and it's like, how do you survive? Shit, IBM probably reinvented itself 3 times in a decade. And you look at the strides Microsoft's made in the last 10 or 15 years, and I want to even say, like, go on a stretch. You and I talked about this morning about Google. It's, what have they really done from an innovation standpoint? Like, most of their revenue, if I believe, still comes from AdWords, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So I'm just, I go into Google now, and I can't even get the results that I need. I don't know what the hell it is anymore. Do you feel Google returns the stuff that you're looking for?
No, I think we've had lots of conversations about this. But there are just better ways to get information now, I think, and that's a big threat.
I'll search on stuff and it'll give me like stupid top 10 lists, or it'll give me like Angie's List and Yelp, and it's like, this isn't what I'm looking for. But from the way their page rank and all their stuff works in their SEO, like, you're no longer doing the job that I was supposed to be able to go to Google in a simple web page, type in what I'm looking for, and it was going to pop up likely in the first 5 results. They give you 10 results of like shit that you're not looking for, or it's another website they're sending you to websites that is doing what they're supposed to be doing. They're like, oh, go to this page because it's got a top 10 list of the 5 best companies. It's like, wait a minute, Google, you're supposed to be telling me the 5 results.
Yeah, true.
And then you scroll past the first page and you get to the second page, and then like, well, who even goes to the second page? You get to the second page and it's not even relevant. Not even relevant.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's true.
And I look at this like last decade of like, there was this easy time in tech, and they were fat and they were bloated, and they might have been innovating, but I don't know how much progress was made. And then how much is things going to change in the next 5 years? I'm going to jump in ChatGPT and probably say, hey, tell me the 5 best plumbers in my area, and I'm going to probably get a better answer from that thing, right?
Yeah, most likely.
Maybe not in the next 5 years, but it's going to happen.
Well, I mean, it's even more than that, right? It would be like book me a plumber for Tuesday next week, and they would just find you the one, and then get it all done.
I mean, how cool is that?
Yeah.
I'm not saying Google's not going to be able to do that too. I feel like a lot of these, and then you've seen how many of these goddamn companies went out, like 1,000 startups went out of business or something.
Hmm.
But that whole business model is like, raise a bunch of money, burning money like crazy. And it's like, have we just lost like solid business principle?
We definitely talked about this maybe a year ago, but like the way that you can develop bad habits in a world where money is free, for sure.
Imagine you're a manager of one of these giant tech companies and you have really no idea what the productivity of your team is. Like hey, Kane, this is insane.
Hmm. Yeah.
But what's even worse is now these people kind of they get released back into the pond, and they're going to go to the next job thinking that's normal.
Right. Right.
I feel like everyone loses. The shareholders lose, the workforce is losing, and when you look back at a lot of these tech companies, I just don't know. You don't realize it when you're in the moment. But where you were sitting around 2017 wondering what innovation Google or Facebook or Twitter was doing, right? But now you
Right.
look back and it's like, man, it's 2024. What did they do?
Right. Right.
And then what did you do with all those resources? Was another thing.
Yeah.
Now Facebook, it's like AI and all this stuff, and what not Google, Apple just came out with some glasses. Where they sit around and they let ChatGPT like come eat your lunch. While you had all
Yeah.
these people sitting around doing what? Oh,
I mean, it sounds a hell of a lot like is it Clayton Christensen's Innovator's Dilemma?
it was a long time ago I read that book.
Just the idea that like yeah, as you I think it's Innovator's Dilemma. I don't remember the exact thing, but the idea that when you get bigger, it's hard to innovate. And so, I mean, these guys are, cash flowing 20, 30, 40 billion dollars or whatever, whatever it is. It just becomes difficult to say, okay, well, let's put this money towards something that generates no revenue, because then it's like, well, how do you justify the return on invested capital versus an open AI that can go and raise billions and billions with no guarantee, right? Like they're just different levels of expectation. But when it really should be the Metas and the Googles of the world that come up with that stuff. I think you're kind of seeing like the way you get around it, which is if you're Microsoft or if you're these big companies, you end up going to like make a big bet on the startup that's going to change the world. But I mean, I think to your point that this is a good example of the bigger you get, the harder it is to do anything.
It is, and you're talking about the money to invest and the return, but at the same time, they had like probably billions of dollars in extra headcount.
Yeah, I'm definitely not arguing that for sure.
No, I'm not. I'm not saying you are. These are the things I'm thinking about. Like, cut 20,000 people, you probably cut I'm just making up numbers because I don't know what the salaries were, but there's probably no one making a little money at Google. Everyone's kind of seems to be paid pretty fat.
Yeah.
20,000 people at $100,000, and that's assuming that's the average salary plus benefits, all the extra shit, the overhead, the cost, and the free food, and every year you would have had $2 billion to put into something.
Mm-hmm.
And you got to like just was it Google or Facebook? I think I just said Google. Either way, let's just say 20,000 people, any of these companies. You start thinking like, well, every year I could do a $2 billion investment in something. I could take a group of people and just fund something. And like, do we think about that? We just think that, oh, their head count. And it's like, no, what is the cost? How much outlay is going to this? Well, those extra people were billions every year.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, I don't know. Just seems like there was better ways to spend that money. But Amy had plenty of time to go on TikTok and You know, here's my day at Google.
Yeah.
5-minute meeting. I get coffee. I go to like it's absurd when you look back at it.
Hmm.
And then we were almost starting to try to normalize it. But back to the shareholder value. Facebook, how much is it up over the last year? Like
Oh, enormous.
it's enormous, and then 17% pop yesterday.
Right.
And I go back to okay, what if you would have been doing this for the last decade? Hey, the shareholders lost a lot of money, man. And I guess I never hear anyone talk about that. Well, you mentioned who? Bill Gurley sent a letter to
Brad
Facebook.
Gerstner.
Brad
Yeah.
Gerstner.
Yeah.
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 It's like, okay, someone finally said it. But
Yeah.
like, hey, Kate, if it was Ford Motor Company, do you think the shareholders would allow that to happen? But we let tech get away with things. I
Yeah.
don't.
Right. No, it's absolutely like we look at. Well, I think the big thing with why Meta got into trouble last year was because they're just investing in things that seem like just superficial and pointless, right? Like I remember what was is it the
Metaverse?
metaverse? That's right. And to your point, when it gets to like the shareholder level, it's like, well, what are we getting out of this? Just burning money. We may as well just burn the cash, you know, on the side of the street, kind of thing. So I absolutely agree. And I guess the balance is then, if you're a tech company like this, well, as there's a natural curve to businesses, right? As you get older, as a business, the way that you think about returns has to change, and but these tech companies just seem to want to stay in like the let's invest in growth all the time kind of phase. And maybe this is just a learning curve for Meta, where it's okay. We can't just always be throwing money into these strange kind of moonshot ideas, and we do have to think of ourselves as a proper business and think of costs and think of margins because clearly the market rewards them when they do things correctly.
But they're I think every business eventually. I mean, it's a big world. Maybe not. There's always there's always someone new to sell something to. I get that, but for most companies, when you're that big, you do reach a saturation point. Like this is about as big as we're going to get with this product. And at that point, now it's like, okay, how do we maximize the value? This is as far as this thing's going to go. Now that's how do we maximize returns, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And then the other option is if you want to grow, then it's new products, new services, or new brands. So I don't completely blame them for like throwing money at stuff, but it's IBM was always trying. They're always reinventing themselves. You always got to be trying to put yourself out of business. As I read and I say, but at the same time, it's sometimes you're just throwing money at some whack ass stuff. And or at the same time, you're spending $2 billion a year with people sitting on the sidelines and just not do something.
Yeah. Yep.
Do something with them. But are we still using Facebook 20 years from now? Like if they don't find something, but they don't find the next thing, right? They will become MySpace.
Yeah, it's true.
I feel that
It's
way
true.
for Google. I think at some point there's going to be something new. And it's either going to be the new thing that Alphabet invented, or it's going to be someone's going to come take their shit from them. I think that house of cards could burn really fast. How long if some new search engine popped up? How long do you think it would take before the critical mass went to the new search engine?
Oh, it would be quick, right? I mean, think it would be like Yahoo as an example.
It wouldn't be like a 3-year decline. It could literally just go viral.
It's
And
true.
I would just I'm going to start going to XYZ whatever, and I'm going to stop going to Google.
Mm-hmm.
That thing could fall apart that fast. Like they could see a 50% revenue drop in 6 months or something.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when you look at the things like, okay, maybe you should keep innovating, or I don't know, but as stable and as large as they are, they're also very fickle because we see how we are as people and fads, and it's just if something catches on and it sets on, it's like wildfire.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if it's marginally better, or we're just tired of the old thing, Google will literally just not exist. And it's crazy to think about, like someone could. It's not like an auto manufacturing. How long does it take to get a car brand up, the lines, the designs, the engineering? You can't do that in 3 months. But
Yeah. Those things die slowly. Yeah.
but you could literally wipe out Google in a month or 3 months if just a new search engine came up that was just better. That people, for whatever reason, a sign of the times, wanted to use that one instead, and that entire multi-billion-dollar company's done.
It's interesting to think about for sure.
Doesn't go to 0K, but you know what I mean. Like it would just
Yeah.
you'd
Yeah.
literally have the rug pulled out from under their feet, and there would be nothing they could do about it.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's not so easy to take out Microsoft.
Right.
You look at all the crazy amount of, like, what's it, Azure, the Office products, like all the stuff they do. Like, you're not taking them out.
Yeah. Right.
But ChatGPT 5.0 has some, like, new search thing called Bobcat, and it could just go viral.
If those words are the actual words that they come out with, I'm gonna be completely impressed.
I'm making random shit up, but I wonder, like, if you got a bunch of money in Google, do you ever think, like, crap, this thing could literally fall apart that fast?
It's such an interesting thought.
And but in the meantime, they're sitting on all these extra people, and I don't know. I saw what the trimming up did to Facebook, and it goes back to what we said in the last couple of years. I just don't, things I harp on. God damn, if you were running that lean, not even, I hate saying lean because I'm not sure they're like running lean like crazy, Six Sigma lean. Like,
No,
just
don't waste money.
don't waste money is what I'm
Yeah.
saying.
Yeah.
Like, how much more that would have returned back
Yeah.
to shareholders over the years. And it's again, that's so much money.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. You're
And
absolutely right.
anyways, anything to close this thing out?
Yeah, quick closing thought. I was just kind of thinking about um, layoffs, right? Because a big catalyst of all this is that they cut 20,000 people. But I think we're going to continue to see layoffs for the next however long because like rates are high, and the hurdle rate that people need on invested capital has to clear the hurdle rate of like 5% now, 6%. I think that's tough in any environment, but very tough now considering the consumer. So I completely expect this to continue. Big tech companies will continue to lay off, smaller companies will lay off. So maybe you're absolutely right. Like we're in the phase of, I know 2023 was a year of efficiency for Facebook, is what they coined it, but I think it's going to be the year of like not wasting money.
Yeah, I don't know if you're even saying efficiency at that point. It's just kind of like right sizing, and or as
Common sense, something like that. Yeah, yeah.
rates are going to have pressure. But I think you used to talk about last year, like regression to the mean or whatever, and are you going to get back to 2019 staffing levels? It's the money in the system, the hype, the amount of things we were consuming. Those patterns are starting to get back more towards normal, and you can't have all these people, and for headcount when things are trending down. It was a boom, and it may not be a bust, but you're not going to keep headcount levels at boom times when it's not booming.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm looking at there's probably going to be a continuing round of layoffs for the next 12 to 18 months, and we'll go from there, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So, anyways, catch you on the next one.
All right.